Hey guys, it's me, Bo, back on the Film Scene Investigation channel. Thank you so much for checking out this review. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the 1987 crime thriller, The Bedroom Window. Just before we get into the review, guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. All the support is greatly appreciated. So, 1987's The Bedroom Window was directed by the filmmaker Curtis Hanson and was based on the novel called The Witness by the author Anne Holden. Costing around $8 million to produce, this movie went on to gross around about $12.8 million at the box office. So, while not a mega success, it at least broke even. When it comes to the narrative, the movie focused on the character Terry Lambert, a fun-loving executive who was played by actor Steve Guttenberg. The film began with Terry rushing back to his apartment so he could meet Sylvia, his boss's wife, who was played by Isabelle Huppert. You see, Sylvia and Terry were having this secret love affair that nobody knew anything about. So the two hooked up and went to bed together. Later that night, we saw Sylvia overhear some screaming coming from outside of the apartment. So naturally, she being curious, she decided to check out what was going on. When she got to the window, she saw this skinny-looking guy dragging this young girl and basically trying to assault her. The girl, tried her best to get away, but the guy just seemed too strong and powerful. As all this played out, Sylvia was still standing by the window, witnessing it all. She wanted to help, but of course, she was too far away. She ended up calling Terry over, opening the window, and trying to, distract the guy from assaulting the girl. You see, Terry had missed everything. So, by the time he got to the window, all he saw was the girl, the victim, getting helped up by the neighbors. Of course, it wasn't a very nice experience for Sylvia to witness, seeing this girl getting mugged and she not being able to help in any way. But they just went back to bed and that was the end of it. But the next day, Terry went to work and read the newspaper where he saw that a girl had been murdered just a few blocks away from his apartment. Terry was immediately suspicious and assumed that the killer could have been the same guy that assaulted the girl the night before. After discussing it with Sylvia, Terry decided to contact the police and report what had happened the night before. In his eyes, he was doing the right thing, and he was potentially preventing further muggings and criminal activity to happen outside his apartment. Sylvia understood where Terry was coming from. It was the right thing to do. But she was a lot more concerned with her husband potentially finding out that she was with Terry when she shouldn't have been. After all, this was an affair, a secret love affair between Terry and Sylvia, and, she didn't want anyone finding out. So the police came over to the apartment and spoke to Terry. They took his statement, but since Terry didn't actually see anything with his own eyes, he just told the authorities Sylvia's version of events and pretended like he had seen everything. Terry didn't want to lie to the police, but this way the cops were able to get the information they needed and Terry was able to hide Sylvia's involvement. Days later, detectives who were on the case contacted Terry and asked him to help them with a police lineup. Terry went to the station and did the best he could, but ultimately, he never saw the incident in the first place, so he was just guessing. He had a hunch that it was one specific man with short red hair, but since he wasn't there, and only Sylvia knew the true identity, he couldn't successfully pinpoint anyone in the lineup. Terry had strong suspicions of this one guy, and so even though he wasn't able to identify him and pick him out of the lineup, he saw the man leave the police station, so he decided to follow him in his car. When I saw Terry get into his car and start following this man, from the lineup, to me, it seemed a little bit ridiculous. Because, let's face it, in our reality, would we be doing that? Not really. So, yeah, I just put it down to bad writing. It's fucking ridiculous, really. Over the coming days, Terry got more and more involved with this murder investigation and eventually was called to be a star witness by the detectives. They wanted Terry to take the stand and give his testimony about what he saw that night, but if he did testify, it could potentially unravel his secret affair that he had with Sylvia. It was a tricky situation, which only got worse for Terry, as later on in the film, he would become the prime suspect. When watching The Bedroom Window, I noticed that deception was a big theme within the narrative of the film. Terry's lie about witnessing the events only set off a string of incidents that put his life in jeopardy. He wrongly assumed that he could trust Sylvia, and so he put his reputation on the line to protect their relationship and lied to the authorities. Like your typical noir protagonist, Terry's decision-making just ended up causing more and more problems for him. The theme of deception perfectly aligns with the classic noir conventions like moral ambiguity and the loss of trust. When it comes to the acting in The Bedroom Window, Isabelle Huppert delivered a very captivating performance as Sylvia, Terry's love interest. While some actors around her felt somewhat miscast, Isabelle Huppert was perfect for the role as Sylvia, and let's face it, she was the best part of the movie. The Sylvia character was very devious, very untrustworthy, and ultimately only cared about herself and maintaining her marriage, making sure her husband never found out that she had cheated on him. So ultimately, towards the end of the film, when Terry was the prime suspect for a crime he didn't commit, Sylvia just let him get on with it. She didn't care. She kind of wiped her hands clean of the situation. I also really loved the character's elegant style, and dress sense. I mean, she looked $1 million all the time. And so, in a way, this was also the most stylish I've ever seen Isabelle Huppert on screen. One of the best scenes in the whole film was when Sylvia ended up getting murdered by Henderson, the man she originally saw outside the bedroom window. Henderson randomly appeared from the shadows. He stabbed Sylvia and then ran off, leaving Terry to pick up the pieces. It was a great scene that certainly caught me off guard, as I assumed that Sylvia would at least survive until the very end of the movie. Overall, once Isabelle Huppert's character was killed off, the story did start to decline and my interests started to wane. As for actress Elizabeth McGovern, I thought she did an okay job playing the character Denise, the victim of the original assault. The Denise character came into the story more towards the end as she tried to help Terry vindicate himself. The two would end up having this romantic relationship that, to be honest, it did feel very forced. For me, it didn't feel very believable that these two would hook up, especially in the situation that Terry found himself in. And, let's face it, Guttenberg and McGovern had pretty much zero sexual chemistry. It was what it was, but it did feel, as I said, it felt forced. It was like, hey, we need another, relationship, sex scene and whatever. Let's insert this. And, it was whatever, but I could have done without it. As for the practical side of things, The Bedroom Window was a very well-made production. It can't be denied. Clearly a lot of time and effort had gone into it, and there were some great locations used as well. The cinematographer, Gilbert Taylor, evoked a lot of classic noir sensibilities that really blended well with the story. All of that combined really amplified the mysterious, dark vibe that the film had. So, dislikes for The Bedroom Window from 1987. My biggest dislike for the film, unfortunately, would have to be the lead star, Steve Guttenberg. Now, this is an actor who have been very aware of for many years, even as a kid watching the Police Academy movies. And yeah, he's good. He's very good. He has comedic talent. But in The Bedroom Window, to me, he just didn't feel very believable. Now, from my understanding, Guttenberg was very keen to star in The Bedroom Window, as it was an opportunity for him to, branch out, outside of comedy. And, fair enough, you have to say, give credit to the guy for at least trying and, trying something different and challenging himself. I wouldn't say that Guttenberg was terrible in any way. He was okay, but at times he just felt very out of place, him in this straight role that we're supposed to, take him seriously. And yeah, I just didn't buy it. I think it may have been down to his facial expressions and his, line delivery. All of that, it just, I just don't think it really mixed well with, a neo-noir 80s movie. Commendable, absolutely, for him trying something different, but I don't know, it just wasn't very convincing. And also, when it came to the relationship between Terry and Sylvia, I just didn't believe that those two would ever hook up. I mean, ultimately, Sylvia, a femme fatale, very glamorous, very beautiful. And then there's Steve Guttenberg, who's, this kind of comedic, dorky guy. The more I think about it, it just seemed kind of silly, to think that Sylvia would be, going behind her husband's back to date this small-time executive with, this shabby apartment. It just seemed a mismatch. Also, the overall characterization of Terry, I just didn't really like it. Him becoming this pseudo-detective, following people in his car. He even at one point showed up to a crime scene. I mean, as all this was playing out, I was thinking to myself, haven't you got a job to go to? I feel a little bit bad for criticizing Guttenberg because, so many actors, stay in their lane. And at least he, tried something different. And that's very commendable. So, credit to him. But I can't lie and say that, he was a great leading man. I also think that, look at the guy's career. He never really went on to be this big Hollywood leading man, did he? He was, very much part of these big ensemble pieces. And so, he tried, he failed, but credit to him for at least attempting something different with his career. And so, ratings for The Bedroom Window from 1987. I'm going to be rating this movie a 4 out of 10. The Bedroom Window from 1987 was certainly an intriguing movie that explored voyeurism and deception. And in some ways it did remind me of the classic Alfred Hitchcock movie Rear Window, where voyeurism was, a plot device within the film. While I enjoyed the movie, to be honest, the longer it went on, I became less invested in the story. And like I mentioned earlier, once Isabelle Huppert's character, Sylvia, had been killed off, things just became pretty meh. It certainly started to drag in the final third, and especially once Sylvia was killed off, I was just kind of waiting for this movie to hurry up and finish. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the actual title of the movie, The Bedroom Window. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but that is a very unimaginative title for a film, and I really believe that it potentially hampered, the film's box office, because let's face it, The Bedroom Window, it's not all that enticing for an audience. The more I think about it, the more I am surprised that they, went with The The Bedroom Window. Now, obviously, in pre-production, you have working titles, and so, yeah, that makes sense. It's just a working title, we'll change it later. But the fact that the studio kept it, it's just very boring, and that should have been changed. If you've seen The Bedroom Window, then please let me know your thoughts and memories in the comment section below. For all of those who haven't yet, it's a very minor recommendation from me. Now, as you guys know, I'm a fan of Isabelle Huppert, so that was enough, to get me through this, and she's a great talent and the best thing about this movie. But if you're not necessarily a fan of Isabelle Huppert, and you're not really into, noir films, then maybe give this one a miss. And well, that is all from me today, guys. I do hope you've enjoyed my review of the 1987 movie The Bedroom Window. I'll be back next week with another cult movie review. Just want to say a big thank you to all my new subscribers. I really do appreciate you guys' support. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. All the support is greatly appreciated. And well, take care.